Welcome everyone. This is the Jenkins Platform SIG meeting, and today we're on July 29, 2025. Around the virtual table today, we have Chris Stern, Kevin Martins, and myself, Bruno Verst. On the agenda today, we'll talk a little bit about Debian, the Java patch day, Java 25. And as always, the container image updates for the controller, the agents, and the work in progress. If there's anything you would like to add to the agenda, don't hesitate to interrupt and let me know. And if ever someone else joins, we'll welcome them along the way. So let's start with Debian. I don't know why it got me that thrill, but Debian 13, known as Trixie, has entered is freeze milestone 4, which means that it's full freeze, and it was 2 days ago. So I guess less than 2 weeks from now, we'll see the first Trixie appearing, and I just can't get why I'm so excited, because that means quite a lot of work for us, because just everywhere where we use Bookworm, we'll have to add something regarding Trixie, then check that everything is working, then get rid of Bookworm. Whoa, that's quite a lot of work. Some things like that could be automated, but I don't want to automate everything. Sometimes it's better to have somebody, and not an AI, somebody look at something and guess if it's right or wrong. By the way, of course, you know why it's called Trixie, right?
Nope.
No? Okay. Sorry, it was not a trap. It's just because they always name their distribution name by the name of a Toy Story character, and I don't know why they choose a character and not another. We've got lots of them. I think we started with Buzz, then Rex, and all of them, and we got up to Bullseye, Bookworm, and now Trixie. And the next one is Foxy, I guess. Okay, that's just Toy Story trivia. My bad. So Trixie is a Triceratops, if that's the correct pronunciation. It's blue, and it appeared in Toy Story 3. Why did it choose it? I don't know. I guess their algorithm is something like, let's choose a character that has never been chosen, whatever it may have done. The only one that has a reason is SID. Each time you have an unstable Debian release before it's released, it's not even a release, it's a rolling release, where they are testing things. It's called SID because SID is the bad kid, which is always breaking toys. And as it's unstable, as an unstable kid, that's why it's named SID. Sorry, I had to say that. Anyway, we'll see that. So maybe before the next meeting. Speaking of things that get updated, it was Java patch day 2 weeks ago. So Oracle let us know that some things have changed. A lot of the changes are linked to security issue, but not only. And then a few days or weeks after, we have the JDK vendors that chime in and publish their first version of these patches. Until maybe yesterday or today, we hadn't seen many automatic PRs on our side to keep our JDK 8 to 21 updated. Why? I think, why not? Because it's started out to sort itself out today. The thing is, Temerin was struggling to get each and every JDK for each platform. It's still a tedious process for them to have that kind of patches because it's all the JDK they support, and they kind of lack resources. I think they don't have that many machines. As for Jenkins, we struggle to find some sponsors, and they have the same kind of problems. They also have the same kind of problems we have, which means sometimes you need more contributors to get things started and getting well. And that's what's happened, because whenever they build a JDK with UI, they have to have someone test the UI for all the platforms. And it's tedious work. It's grunt work. It takes some time. And that's why sometimes it's that slow. Some people were arguing on GitHub regarding why the hell did you get the RISC-V binaries ready for JDK 21 before the Windows x64? It's just because it's a headless release for the RISC-V, so no manual testing. That's why for Windows it was that slow. Anyway, as far as I've seen, we have now the JDK 21, 17, and even 11 for all our platform. And we're still missing JDK 8, I think, for some platforms that I'm not so sure. I have to check. I think the latest PRs may have been merged earlier today. And the Docker images supplied by Temerin, which we were relying on months ago, are not yet published for lots of platforms. And that's the problem. And that's something we had seen the year before. We were waiting maybe 2 more weeks before we get the Docker images. And that's partly why we chose to build on the binaries supplied by Temerin and not building on top of their existing Docker images. So we had the JDK patch upgrade campaign issue in the Jenkins Infra help desk, and it just closed a few minutes ago. So we're good to go from JDK 8. You see, I was wrong, from JDK 8 to JDK 21. We have all of them. Some of you might wonder, doesn't Jenkins only support JDK 17 and 21? Why are you talking about JDK 8? Yes, you're right. JDK 17 and or 21 are required to run a Jenkins controller and agent, but that doesn't prevent you to run processes, to run pipelines with JDK 8 or 11, whatever you need. Hello, Hervé. Sorry, I didn't get it.
Oui, non, mais c'est pas possible, je sais pas là. Je serais, chose.
Okay, Hervé was not talking to us. Anyway, so we're good now. We have all the latest patches installed and all is going well. Let me add Hervé on the list of the attendees. I'm talking about, would any one of you have things to say about what I just said? Okay, I take that for a no. Thank you. Now let's move on to Java 25. So as you know, Temerin supplies JDK 25 early access binaries. It's been the case for many months now. And the infra team has been working on it, and the task in the help desk is now closed. So that means that we have, as developers, access to JDK 25 for the plugins, for example, or even to build Jenkins itself, or other tools in the Jenkins ecosystem, for example. Yesterday, I tried to build the plugin Modern Idle, part of the Jenkins CI organization with JDK 25 because it's available. You just have to add in your Jenkins file, build with JDK 25 as you already have something, JDK 11 or 17 or whatever. You can just use JDK 25 and you'll get the early access release of JDK 25. By the way, I have to tell you that we are not updating automatically the JDK 25 early access version we are using within the infrastructure. It's still done by hand for various reasons. So whenever there will be a new version, we'll try to install it on the infrastructure, but it won't be as fast as it could be with a DSLI. When we will leave the early access release and move to the general access release. So by the end of September, maybe beginning of October, then we'll install the DSLI manifest and we'll be able to keep things up to date automatically. Along this, we are trying to compile the top 250. Oh, it's difficult today. Plugins with JDK 25. So that's the most installed plugin for the Jenkins project. And it hasn't moved that much since last time. We were around 86.40 something, I think, and we are about 86.80. That's pretty encouraging. Of course, that means that we had to modify the maven.config file into the .mvn subdirectory. But that's okay, that's just a test. And Mark made other tests with JDK 24. And it's as easy as keeping up to date with the latest parent POM. If you are using 5.18 and the ones which will come afterwards, then you can already compile your plugin with JDK 24. And that's a nice preparation for the JDK 25 in October. So Mark still has to notify Jenkins plugin maintainers that the plugin maintainers initiative opt-out is open because around September or October, we try to update these 250 most installed plugins to JDK 25. But as tempting as it could be to do that with the plugin modernizer tool, we aim to do that by hand, to try this new community plugin maintainers initiative, to try if we can, to see if we can work together, if we can craft something of high quality, and not meaning that the plugin modernizer does things that are not high quality, but sometimes it's not as good as we could do by hand, mostly for the PR body, for example, because sometimes you are putting some generic information that is not spot on for a particular plugin. Nonetheless, if anybody wants to opt out not having its plugin updated to JDK 25 end of this year or this autumn, it's an opt-out. So you will have to let us know that you don't want to be part of that. But prior to that, we have to have Mark send an email to all the plugin maintainers so they know they can opt out. I was talking about the plugin modernizer, of course, because we are working on a recipe to upgrade plugins to JDK 25. It's not working yet, but it's in the making, and so that it will be ready for October or so. Of course, we won't use it for the most installed plugins, but we will use it for other plugins or after the community maintainers initiative. So around October or November, we'll see. But it's a good thing that we have that. We already have one that helps us pushing plugin to JDK 11, 17, or even 21. So we have to write one for JDK 25. Ellie, were you setting something? I didn't get it. Okay, I take that for a no.
No, it's that's direction.
Okay, thank you. We are also trying to build with JDK 25 the open the plugin modernizer. So far it builds with JDK 25, but Open Rewrite is not ready for JDK 25. So of course, when we are running the test, it just fails. That's something that is known, and people from the Open Rewrite project are working on it. They know. They told us today that they know they have to work before September so that it becomes ready when JDK 25 is also ready. Any questions or comments on what we've just seen? Thank you. So let's move on. Container image update for the Jenkins controller. So you may have seen last week the 2.516.1 was released, and it was an important milestone for Jenkins because the UI changed mostly and changed quite a bit. Some people were lost. That's why we had 2 live streams last week. No, last week. 12 days ago for Jan Faracik, so he's working a lot on UI and responsible for lots of the changes with Team Jack on that happened recently. So if you haven't watched it yet, please give it a look. It's pretty interesting, and you know only how it's working, but why they chose to do so. That's pretty clever. And then we had the more generic, I would say, the live stream with Mark and Darren. They do on every LTS release, and it was 4 days ago. It's also interesting, of course, but it's not as groundbreaking as the first one, which tells you how the UI changed dramatically lately. And Mark, by the way, was the release lead because he wanted to be sure that everything would go his way with the latest change in the UI. Apart from the change in the UI and, of course, the controller version update, we had the patch of JDK applied. So we had a new version for JDK 21, for example. We also had the usual suspect, the Debian bookworm, the Alpine Linux, the UB9 updates, and a new version of Git LFS. The next LTS will be the .2, of course, and it should be released on August 20. The next release candidate should be available August 6, so I guess it's next week. And Chris, you are the release lead. Thanks a lot for being once again the release lead. Anything, a breaking change that we should know about?
Nope, not yet.
Okay, thank you, Chris. As for the weeklies, I haven't spotted anything important, just the usual version bumps for Alpine, JDK 17, thanks to the Java patch day, JDK 21, same thing, and the latest Debian bookworm. Maybe one of the last, or no, I think bookworm will still have some releases even when Trixie is available. Now, for the Jenkins agent, we have seen one new release for the SSH agent with just one bump of Alpine Linux and 3 new releases for the Docker agent. So we've been using the latest remoting, the 3327 lately for these versions. And the rest of the changes are mostly dependency updates. So nothing major, which shouldn't prevent you from staying up to date. As for the work in progress on images, I haven't seen anything on the controller. And for the Docker agent, we still have the long-running install git LFS. I think it's a work from you, Hervé, right?
Yeah, I was in PTO for most last of for the last month, so I didn't have time to work on it.
Yeah, it was not a critic from me. Sorry if you heard it like that. Long running is not a problem.
I think I had some issue. It's not as simple as it looks, so I will need some more time on it. No ETA. Well, yet.
Yeah, and the goal there was to have something more recent than what is supplied by the distribution packages, right?
Yeah, so we could get fixed Git LFS.
Failed. Too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Ellie. Another long-running one, and thanks for your review, everybody. Where I will try to work on that tomorrow. The support on Linux for JDK 25 in Docker build configuration for the Docker agent. There are no emergency to get this merged. Damien told me that with the load that they have in the infra team and the PTO, because of course we're in summer in Europe, the PTO is something that we have to deal with. It shouldn't be merged before end of August. And frankly, nobody asked for it. So it's okay. We're cool with that. And Bump UB9, I think this one just disappeared today because GitHub wasn't working that well lately. Yes, it has been merged. And then we had some issues. Everybody has some issues with GitHub last night. And some of our PRs were stuck. It's not the case anymore. It's good. It will be in the next release. And for the Docker SSH agent, I think this one is linked to the latest move to AWS. Sometimes the Windows machines seem to be kind of slow or stuck. We reach a timeout and then everything stops. Eric, would you have any comment or would you give us some insight regarding that? Because I was pretty vague when it comes to describing what's happening.
Not on the top of my head. I don't remember exactly what was.
Sorry, it was not a trap, just in case if you knew better. Sorry. But what I see sometimes, at least for the Docker SSH agent, the Docker agent PRs, is that they run until Windows gets blocked in some process and doesn't give us any logs. And after a timeout, it just gets killed and the PR is unsuccessful. That's all I've seen, and I don't have any insight on that because it's way out of my league. Sorry, Abby, you were saying?
Yeah. I don't know yet why some tests are stalling. Yeah, there's nothing shown. So.
And it happened since the migration, so it may have to do with slow machines, maybe, or could be anything from these two networks. I'm no expert. Definitely no expert. We reached the end of the proposed agenda. Is there any other subject you would like to talk about today? Fine. Thanks a lot for your time. I do appreciate it. It's kind of weird to talk just by myself. So thanks a lot for coming. The video should be available from 24 to 48 hours. And I think I will be on PTO 2 weeks from now. So should we cancel or would anybody like to run the next? Maybe Mark will be back. Okay, you know what? We'll see with Mark. We won't take a decision today. We'll see that later on. Anyhow, see you when I see you. Yeah.
I think it's fine if you skip the next one in August. A lot of people are in vacancy, holiday, and so on. So.
Yeah, you're right. Let's cancel it. Thank you, Ellie, for your feedback. So see you in September? Really?
Yeah.
No, end of August, maybe.
Late August. Yeah, late August.
Yeah. With 2 new LTS, or no, just 1 new LTS we'll talk about. Thanks a lot for your time, folks, and see you soon, folks.